Throughout the decades, the mechanics of how you control the mustachioed man have remained essentially the exact same across every entry, as Nintendo probably doesn't want to stray away from what everyone's used to, and implement features that would just confuse the longtime fans. However, on the flip side, there are times when your entire skill set isn't exactly explained to you, and you have to discover them for yourselves, giving me the idea to create today's video about secret moves from every Mario game in the franchise. These have been found over the years by looking more closely at the game's manuals, as well as people playing the game trying to discover everything, where here I'll explain exactly how you do them, and what benefit they give you. And oh yeah, before we get started, my name is Copycat, and if you haven't yet, then please subscribe to my channel, hitting that bell to stay notified when I upload new videos. The first to be released in the mainline series is Super Mario Bros. For the NES, which has one move that many players don't know how to take advantage of in wall jumping. As you can see, you're actually able to use this tactic to save yourself from falling into a hazard, or to reach higher up areas much quicker than intended, which is helpful. There are smarter people than me who can tell you exactly how this works, but it has to do with needing to travel at the right speed and hit the wall you want to jump off at the right pixel, where if you've done it right, the game will think for a split second that you're standing on a flat surface and you're able to use that as a platform. I know, that's kind of complicated of an explanation, but plenty of times I've done this by accident during my normal playthrough, so it's not impossible. The second NES entry to be released in Western markets is Super Mario Bros. 2, where, believe it or not, I know a few people who never even knew the crouch jump was a thing and were playing the game hugely disadvantaged. If somehow you didn't know about this move is performed by pressing and holding down on your controller, which causes your character to crouch and begin to flash. After a few seconds, you can release the crouch button and press A, which will cause you to jump really high, allowing you to reach spots and find secrets you would never be able to before. There are also two moves that are character specific, meaning unless you've used them a lot, you may not know they exist, which are Luigi's ability to jump flutter and Peach's ability to use her dress to float. Both of these allow you to reach places that otherwise would be impossible to get to, which will help you, especially in crossing large gaps, or with the hidden warp in World 5-3, which lets you get right to World 7. The final installment in the original trilogy, Super Mario Bros. 3, came out for the NES in 1990, where a few of its special power-ups contain hidden moves that definitely aren't apparent, starting with being able to turn to stone if you have the Tanuki suit. This is done by pressing down and B at the same time, which transforms Tanuki Mario into a statue of Akisha Tigarba, which is the protector of travelers and guardians of the souls, where in this state, you're basically able to destroy any enemy below you while you remain invulnerable. This is a huge advantage in getting out of very sticky situations, and this works well in this title as you're able to put items in your inventory for later use. The other power-up that has a hidden move is the Frog Suit, which I just recently learned can swim against the strong currents coming out of warp pipes and underwater levels, allowing you here to reach secret sub-areas. In these places, you're most likely to find a bunch of coins, 1-ups, or power-ups, and is a very interesting mechanic that somehow in all my years of playing I overlooked. In the series' first handheld title, called Super Mario Land and releasing for the Game Boy, there's only one somewhat hidden move in the wall jump that essentially works the exact same as it did in the first Super Mario Bros. NES entry, letting you save yourself if you're in trouble, or letting you exploit it to get to higher up areas. Not much else to say in how this mechanic works in this rather rudimentary game, but if I somehow left something out I should have mentioned, then please let me know in the comments below. Next up is the Super Nintendo title named Super Mario World, which came out in North America in 1991. Having a couple hidden/unknown moves I want to showcase, starting with the screen scroll option that allows you to see a little bit more in front of you, or behind you on a stage. This is done by holding R to scroll the camera to the right, and L to do the same to the left. Although, this doesn't work in auto-scrolling levels, Yoshi's house, the top secret area, or boss rooms, and honestly, doesn't really help you too much in your adventure, just sort of being a cool feature that will allow you to see more. The other move I want to show off actually occurs when you're using a specific item in the control coin, as when you trigger the block, a line of coins sprout out from it that at first seems unclear with what to do with them. How this actually works is via the directional pad, where you can control which way the coin snake travels, where in combination with a switch, you can then turn the coins into blocks that you can platform on to reach secrets higher up on the screen. In the Valley Ghost House and in Star World 5, this can lead you to a key that you can put into the hole to find an alternate exit. An insane secret that without a guide or prior knowledge is almost impossible to pull off yourself. The sequel to Super Mario Land also came out for the Game Boy, released in North American markets just in time for Christmas in 1992, having really only one maneuver that may be overlooked by some players in Fire Mario's ability to break certain blocks. Now, this is via the fireballs that you can shoot while in this form, which has the ability to clear certain blocks that might be in your way of finding goodies, or in a few cases, even alternate exits. This can be difficult as you have to maintain that power-up until you get to those fiery blocks, so some replayability, and definitely a guide is needed here. The very first game in the series based in the 3D realm is Super Mario 64 for the N64, which only has one move that was never clear, and I remember discovering it accidentally as a kid in being able to surf on the Koopa shells. This is definitely strange, as has never been a thing before and would never be a thing again in a Mario game, where here, if you knock the Koopa out, then you can ride on top of its shell and traverse very fast through the course. This also allows you to travel up very steep hills and kill basically any enemy you come in contact with. But unfortunately, this can only be done in a few places in the game, and other than one moment, is sort of gimmicky. There are a few other sort of unknown moves, like getting caught up in the gust of wind that blows you higher up in Tall Tall Mountain, or jumping up the spin drifts that sends you up in the air like a helicopter. But to be honest, those ones did not surprise me as much as this one did. The Super Mario Sunshine GameCube title is up next in this video, where the secret moves you can find within it are all performed with your FLUDD, starting with a very efficient way to attack enemies in the Sprinkler Squirt. This is done by getting Mario to spin around by twirling the left stick, then by jumping, which causes the mustachioed man to perform a dizzying spinning jump. Next, you have to hold down the spray button, which is right trigger, which then causes the water to shoot out in all different directions, affecting anything within its radius. This is great for fighting foes that move around quickly, or are made of goo and are spread out in the course, with the most effective it can be is versus the Phantom Manta of Serena Beach. The other is called the Super World Jump, which only can be done if you're hanging onto a rope and using your FLUDD as a means of insane propulsion. To do this, you need to be holding on to that rope with your hover nozzle out and pressing R, where if you have enough momentum, you'll begin to spin rapidly to the point where you're almost out of control. If you jump just at the right moment, then you go flying crazily through the air, allowing you to get some insane height in a stylish way that you may not have ever seen before. Nintendo will return the series to its 2D roots with the release of New Super Mario Bros. For the dual screen system. Having only one hidden move I want to mention, which that there's actually a way to store the Mega Mushroom right away in World 1-1. You need to be frame perfect to pull this off, however, as you need to get the giant shroom underneath this section of unbreakable blocks, then jump and collect the power-up at the exact same time your head would hit one of those blocks. You know you did it right if you don't transform, and the power-up will instead end up in your inventory, which is cool as you then can use it where you please, where the only other place it's even possible to store one of these in these title is through the orange toad houses. Next up, we're going to look at the space-based Super Mario Galaxy Wii entry, having one secret move that doesn't really affect your gameplay, but does make you look a lot cooler, in your ability to dive into any body of water. This only happens if you perform a backward somersault while entering the water, as after your in-air theatrics, you'll end up going head first, diving like an Olympic swimmer into the H2O. Another secret I want to mention is how useful the backward spin jump actually is, as not only can you use it as a way to reach platforms that are just slightly higher, but also on extremely steep slopes you can spam the move to get to places you really aren't supposed to go. Performing this move is done by jumping, holding back on the joystick, then by shaking the Wiimote or by pressing X if you're using the Switch controller, where if you continuously spam these inputs in the right spot, then you can bypass sections of entire levels, or get out of bounds entirely, letting you explore more in that galaxy. The second installment of the new Super Mario Bros. Sub-series came out for the Wii in 2009, which has two secretive moves that both revolve around ice-based power-ups, beginning with your ability to pick up basically anything that's become frozen. This happens when an enemy or object is hit by a snowball by either you or another foe, which encases them completely in a block of ice, where you then can go up to them and hold 1 while shaking the Wiimote. This picks them up and puts them over your head, where here all you can do is throw them back at foes, which is interesting as they slide on the ground on the way to their target. Talking about sliding, the other thing I want to look at is your ability to slide on your belly when you're wearing the penguin suit, which isn't only a great way to get around, but can also be used to defeat enemies and break brick blocks. This is needed to find secrets like coins, 1-up mushrooms, and star coins within World 3's Frozen World, which is interesting to discover as the entire time I wasn't using this power-up to its full potential. In Super Mario Galaxy 2, the sequel that was also released on the Wii, there's only one move I could mention that I guarantee most people don't know about in Yoshi's Infinite Flutter, which I'm assuming is a glitch and wasn't an intended feature, but is extremely helpful. As its name suggests, pulling this off while riding Yoshi will allow you to gain some insane height, to the point where you're able to reach spots you're definitely not supposed to be, done by performing your initial flutter jump, then releasing A and quickly pressing Z or Z, followed by releasing, okay, Z for you Americans, and only again holding A to flutter. This takes tons of trial and error to finally perfect, as understanding how to properly input the buttons at the right time is very difficult. But if you can master this technique, it allows you to get out of bounds and in some instances, skip entire missions. Nintendo would perfectly blend aspects of Mario's 2D and 3D realms with the release of Super Mario 3D Land for the 3DS. Having only one move I want to talk about that isn't necessarily secret but unexpected, as it had never been a thing before in the franchise, in rolling. This is done by simply pressing L or R to crouch, then by pressing X or Y, which makes your character do a frontward somersault as a way to move more quickly, as well as a way to break crates and blocks. Oddly, you can't defeat enemies in this game while executing this move, which is against all we've learned and experienced from that same move in the Donkey Kong series, but it is still a very useful new ability in this franchise. Up next is the new Super Mario Bros. 3DS installment that came out in 2012. Having one very unknown maneuver that I didn't even know about, and being able to force your character into a faster method of flying when they're powered up with a Super Leaf. Apparently, when you're beginning to take off, if you press jump and dash multiple times simultaneously, then you'll actually fly faster than normal. Which, unfortunately, is hard to get footage of, as I don't have a capture card for the 3DS, so I'm sorry if the quality is a bit bad, but I tried my best. The final of the new Super Mario Bros. Sub-series was first released on the Wii U, then later re-released in a deluxe version on the Switch, where for some unknown reason, Nintendo changed a maneuver that mostly went unnoticed in that the newer version has a spin jump. This is an extra little spin if you press A again after jumping, where if its random inclusion wasn't odd enough, it actually can be disabled entirely by holding left and pressing L plus R in the title screen. I really couldn't find any information on why this change/inclusion was made, so if you know any more about it than I do, then please let me know in the comments below. Another game that was initially released on the Wii U, then later re-released for the Switch, is Super Mario 3D World. Having two moves I think are appropriate to talk about as they're new to Mario's skill set in this game, starting with your ability to jump higher than ever before. This is done by getting your character to ground pound, then when you hit the ground on impact, jump, where you'll notice you'll actually gain more air than normal, which can be very good in specific situations. The other move that will help you get into very tight areas more easily is the crouching hop, done by pressing R, the crouch button, then by jumping. Again, this has to be a very specific situation that you'll only come across a few times in your playthrough, but at least knowing about it will automatically make you better at the game. Next up is the absolutely massive Super Mario Odyssey entry for the Switch, having a ton of unique, unclear maneuvers that if you can master will make you better at several aspects of the game. Where first, I'm going to look at the different cat flicks you can use to help you out greatly. Instead of pressing Y or X to throw your hat, You could actually just quickly flick whatever controller you're using to extend the range of your throw and the way it travels. These include just normally flicking your controller, which will send Cappy out at an extended length, flicking it in a sort of sideways motion, which causes it to spin around you crazily, which is good for clearing mini enemies at once, flicking it upwards, which allows you to capture things just above you and out of sight, which comes in handy during Luigi's Balloon World, and finally just regularly throwing Cappy, then flicking your controller in any direction, which changes his trajectory. Shaking the controller also makes some of the things you capture perform much better versions of their original maneuvers. But just know there are actually a lot of these in this game, so I'm just going to mention the ones that are most notable. These are your super jump with the frog, where you jump almost double in height, being able to glide much farther than regular as the glide-on, being able to flick the Pokio higher, farther, and faster, actually being able to attack as the Cheep Cheep, which is kind of amazing, spitting out coins while spinning in a circle as the coin coffer, and being able to move way faster in the magma as the lava bubble. Again, just to name a few. One extra little move that can actually help you in pulling off some truly insane trick jumps is the Cappy Return Twirl, which, as you can see, adds just a split second of airtime to Mario's maneuvers, which in some cases is just enough. The timing of this can definitely be tricky and a bit annoying to figure out, but it opens up so many opportunities for you to remain airborne and get into usually unreachable spots. One move that most pro speedrunners use to gain more momentum when coming out of a roll is named the roll cancel, which is done by pressing Y and B at the same time while rolling. This will force you to throw your cap, as well as end your roll much earlier than intended, although you're still able to travel fast and use your hat quickly again to platform upwards. Again, using this in Luigi's Balloon World is a must for pro players who just want to shave off fractions of a second. Although, I won't even lie, I've played several hours of this game and I still haven't completely mastered this. There's probably so many moves I left out that more technical players would have included, so if there really is one that I should have talked about, then please let me know in the comments. The next title we're going to look at is really more of an add-on game mode in Bowser's Fury, which is included alongside the Nintendo Switch re-release of Super Mario 3D World, where really the only secret moves I want to mention are the different ways you can control Bowser Jr. The Kid Koopa is with you from the very beginning of your arrival in Lake Lapcat, but many people don't understand that you can take advantage and actually manually use him, especially if you already have the option of getting low help from him. This is done by pressing R, then R again to get him to move wherever the Bowser symbol is looking, where he can be used to collect items for you, or go ahead in a fight to clear the way. There's also certain uncovered secrets found throughout the islands that you can get him to use his paintbrush on, done by just directing him to go where they are, and he'll do all the work for you. Also, there is a 2-player mode where someone controls the character with a separate controller, being able to actually perform attacks and give a bit more of a break to player 1. The final game we're going to look at in this video is the newest in this series in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Having only 2 somewhat hidden moves I can think about, starting with being able to use the bubble to stay in the air pretty much as long as you want. However, this only works if you're also equipped with the Jet Run badge, literally allowing you to get to the end of basically any open air stage in the game. But then again, most badges are pretty cheap anyways, so I'm not surprised that this is even a thing. Another secret move that isn't exactly mentioned to you is your ability to still carry items while you're using the parachute badge, which looks odd as you're forced to use your feet instead. Honestly, I thought that you would just drop the item as your hands are being preoccupied, and I didn't even attempt to do this myself during the playthrough, but I guess I was just completely wrong. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, please leave a like, comment below what you thought about it, and of course subscribe to my channel. Also, please go follow my Instagram at Copycat Gamer. There I'll put some cool clips and items from my collection that you won't see anywhere else. Hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!